All right, video number 2. So first project, what we're going to do is get together and make a wallet, essentially. Something real simple, something that most people use. I already knocked this one out. I did not quite finish it, but it'd take just a couple more stitches to get these hidden, and it would be done. And this I used a thinner leather, so it's not quite as stout. I wouldn't use it per se, just because it is kind of flimsy. But for credit cards, it'd be fine. But we're trying to get them in and out of there. But it was just a test piece to make sure that my idea worked. I just cut this out as the size of an ID card or credit card. You can fold your bills up to the same size and shove them right in there. And I made it just a little bit larger so you can get multiples in there. But anyway, most ID cards are about 3 3/8 inches this direction and 2 1/8 inches this direction. Yeah, so any little piece of cardboard, or if you've got an ID card, use it. Yeah, so typically I add, for something like this where I'm actually going to be putting something in it, and there's a couple different ways we'll go about this, but if I'm putting something in it like this, I make sure that I've got double the, or not double the size of it, but I add about a ½ inch on either side, depending on what it is. So, and then on the bottom, I think I only did like 3/8 or something like that on the bottom, because it's not doubled on both sides. And yeah, it sticks in just enough to where it's not hanging out if I push it in all the way. So, and for as a beginner, leaving a little bit extra on the outside is just fine. You can come back when you're done, especially as a beginner, on poking your holes with an awl. They can be uneven just a little bit, so it winds up that your edges are a little uneven as well. So you might be able to see it better on there. There you go. You can kind of see that it doesn't line up right. So right there. All right. So that being said, we'll go ahead and knock this out. So like I said, there's a couple different ways we can do this, and you can choose whichever way you like. You can do like what I did and do all the way around, or I cut 2 pieces and put them together, or you can cut 1 piece and essentially, you know, the measurement would go from here to the end, so that is a bend, and I think that's what I'm going to do with this next piece, because this is a little bit thicker, and it's less stitching. So and then I'll go through that. So that being said, the easiest way to do that is to see where this wound up on that, and I will. Yeah, so I'd be adding about a 1/4 inch to the top of this. So that being doubled over, you're talking a ½ inch. So you're gonna double the length of this and add a ½ inch, and then the same thing on either side here. So you're adding an inch to the width of that 3 3/8. So we'll go ahead and get started cutting. So these are 8ths, they're not 16ths. So that's a 2 1/8 right there, plus our ½ inch on either side, so an inch. So it's 3 1/8, about right there. And we want to line up the tick marks right there. So 3 1/8, and then your 3 3/8 times 2 plus a ½. Now we're going to 7 1/4. Okay. So right there, so that should be the outline of our piece. And again, I'm going to check there and make sure this looks good there and there. Yep. Now I'm going to use my cutter, and there's a safety on it. So when you're not using it, it's good to make sure that's pushed in. I'm terrible about that. And then you just squeeze that when you're ready to cut. And I suggest not doing that until you're ready to cut. Let's turn that just a little bit. It was a little off. All right, so I'm going to squeeze that and get a good grip on it. Steady myself with one of my fingers or two of them, and then bring the blade in and set it right next to the side of this. There's about an 1/8 inch thick, so it's pretty easy to set it up against that, and you just try to line it up and keep running straight forward. And run it just barely past the end there, to where the bottom of your blade is touching that, or is, yeah, even with the center of the blade is even with the ruler. Do the same thing here. And when I'm doing this, I try not to move my piece around too much, because then I have to realign. But and these are very sharp. I mean, it went through that like nothing. So be careful. I know. I had teenagers. I know. They all know. You all know. Okay, so from there, we're going to measure to the center on each end right here. So we're going to create this right here, which is your finger pole. We're going to find the center of this, and I'll show you how. Okay, so since that's an 1/8 right there, right? So we're going 1.5 inches. We want to go right to center. Actually, let me use my ahold to mark that. So this is a great marking tool, as well as if you use the side of it. It doesn't seem very sharp, but trust me, when you're pushing it through a piece of leather, it'll go right through your fingers. All right, and I just push it down and pull a little bit. You can see we left a pretty good mark right there. So now I'm going to do the other side. Same thing. Line it up at the edge. 1.5 inches plus half of that. There you go. Right there. So those are going to be cut out, so it's okay that we mark it. Now, what I did is I used what I have. So I have these, right? That's a nice little circle right there, and that's exactly what I used to mark these with. So I'll show you how I did that. All I do is line the one side up right here with the side of your leather. So, all right, so I'm going to line it up right there, right with the edge of my piece, centered right. And you can kind of, if you let your eyeballs do it, you get good practice at it. You set it right there. Your body will line it up. It's just like archery or a lot of things like that. And all I'm doing is putting this in like you would use it as if you were using a marker or a pen. Get it right there close. Don't push down too hard. Just enough to mark it. And there we go. Got a nice circle there. And I'll do that on both sides. Line it up. And it doesn't have to go all the way around, because there we go. And I went over a little bit, but that's why I like this type of leather. You can rub it right out of there. Okay, now we're going to take it and we're going to do this portion right here. We're going to do this portion. We're using the same thing as our round edge, and what we're going to do is line up. Let me get it out here so you can see it. Sorry. We're going to line up on this edge and this edge. So just like that. I can't really see what I'm doing. I'm sorry. You'll see once I get it down there. There. That's all we're doing right there. Okay. Same thing. Line up this edge with this edge and this edge right there. I'll do that on both sides. This is quick and dirty. You can take as long as you like to do this, or as long as you're allowed in class, that is. But I'm going to do it kind of quick and dirty so I can get through this video for you. You don't have to listen to me as much. All right. So now we're going to use the scissors. So I'm going to see how how sharp and easy they are to use. So I try to line up on the side that I can see. So if I'm, and then have the blade on the outside really, so I can see my mark, and I'm going to cut. Start my scissors almost even with my piece to go into it nice and easy. And I'm sure you've cut stuff before. So all we're doing is cutting that out, and just remember that it's thicker. So you're going to have to maneuver it around a little bit more than you would have to do paper. You want to try to keep from making an angle as you cut. I'll show you why. Okay. So I'll just use this. If I set my piece in like this and I cut like that, if you look at the edge, it's kind of angled, and you can really see that quite a bit when you put, the thicker the item is, the thicker the leather is, the more of that you'll be able to see, and you can see the difference right there. So and then if I was using two pieces like that and they're misaligned, it looks really, really funky. So as perpendicular as you can get it. There we go. So those two pieces are cut. Those pieces are cut out. Now we're going to go with our marking tool. So something here, we'll do this first. We're going to fold this in half to the inside. And I'll show you why. And just kind of fold it down. But inside that fold, we're going to use our awl again. I'm going to just set my awl down in the bottom of that right there and pull it, drag it out. Boom. Just like that. Real easy, nothing real hard. All I want to do is make kind of a crease right there. So it's going to discolor it a little bit anyway, just from bending it even the other direction. But I want to know approximately where my center is. So, because we're going to bring this in from the outside on each side. So I did kind of about 1/4 of an inch on on our example piece here. I did about 1/4 of an inch. I'll probably do a little bit less than that. I'll line up at about, I'll show you what I mean. So on the edge, and actually we'll just put it right on the 1/8. We're going to line that up. Okay, so I'm lined up on my tick marks on the 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to set this, I'm going to start with one tooth off of the leather. So I'm going to bring it in and just let that tooth touch, and then I'm only going to go to our halfway mark. Oops, I'll let it move. Don't let it move. I'm going to stop right there. So it stops right there. And then I'm going to bring it from the other side, do the same thing to the center. Boom, just like that. And I'll flip it over and do the other side. This may not come out even. You can kind of see, oops, you can kind of see right here how wide that space is. And then there might be, there's probably one right in the center of that. But what we want is to make sure that the holes on this end line up. So that's why we start from the outside and work toward the inside. And since I messed this one up, those holes are kind of doubled. But I'll figure it out. So this makes it real easy to line up with your awl. So, and what we're going to do with this is poke the holes. So you're going to line up and then again go perpendicular as much as you can. And I usually, when I'm doing it, I start at least on the very outside edges. I just set it in where it's supposed to go and push down, and you can kind of hear it pop just a little bit, just like that. By the way, Don't do this on your desk. Have something else to put this on. Maybe even another part of the scrap. You know, you can use this other portion of your leather right here and set it on there just like that. I should have said that first. You probably already got holes in your desk. But if you put it right on the edge, you're not wasting much. All right. So now we got all those started, and really we only wasted that much, and it kept it from going all the way through and ruining the table. All right. So now we've got all those started. All the holes are all the way through here. We're going to want to make those holes just a little bit bigger. So now we need to run this through up to about right here. And this is where you wind up putting it through your fingers. So see how easy it went through? It goes that easy right into your fingers if you don't watch what you're doing. So I make sure I got a finger on either side of the hole. Just like that. Kind of bend it and push it through. And again, go ahead and go through all of them, and we'll get back to the next step. All right, now we got that. So now is to choose what color of thread you'd like. That, or that. Completely up to you. This is like a silver. No, this is black. This one's black. I'm only somewhat colorblind. Of course, brown. And then this one is silver. I'm going to use this brown. This one's a little bit light for my taste. I used it on the last one, but that was more just to see how it was going to turn out, what it was going to look like. So I'm going to use this brown right here. Feel free to use whatever color matches. I'm not sure if all the leather was about the same color or not, but yeah, black would look fine with that. I'm going to use that brown. Be a little bit easier for you to see, and well, and me too, because I'm blind and old and blind, deaf, dumb. Well, maybe not dumb. If I keep talking, my wife might make me dumb. Okay, so now we're going to keep this handy. The hole. We're going to keep it handy in case we want to make our hole just a little bit bigger for the needles. We are going to use 2 needles. So out of your pack, make sure you get 2 of the smaller needles. And again, we'll keep that handy. And see if I can find an end. There it is. Look at that. I typically pull out a full double arm's length. So essentially 3 or 4 feet. So it's doubled over once and twice, so that's just for one side. The reason I do that is because it's nice to have extra, and when you get down to the end, you don't want to have that much left and then try to have to tuck it. So if you got a little bit extra, it's not that big of a deal. Thread's relatively cheap. So, and then what we're going to do with this, I'm going to get it through the eye. We'll pull it through about yay. And then I'm going to try to split that on the side without the tail. This just keeps it from coming out. I don't do it very often, but it's good to know. Let's see if I can get it through. Yeah, there we go. So see, I went through the center of that thread. By the way, this is called braided thread. If you look at it closely, it's braided, not twisted. So, and the reason I do that is so it stays, it kind of helps keep it together a little bit better. It'll still pull through, but not near as easy. So you can kind of see that I've got some tension on it right there. It's not pulling through. So do it again with the other side. There we go. Just like that. Okay. Just a real simple knot. Alright, so we're going to start on whichever side. It doesn't really matter. Choose which side you'd like to start with. We're going to line up the ends right here. And I just start out with one needle, run it through both holes on the very end right there. And you'll see what I mean about wanting to make your hole a little bigger with the awl sometimes. I might have missed this one anyway. Just run it through again real quick. And sometimes you don't even have to push very hard or push very far. It's the leather will relax and sit back to where it was if it hasn't been wetted. And there you go, right through. Look at that. So get that pulled through, and then I'm going to grab both my needles and I'm going to pull until it's even. Just like that. So both my needles line up right there. Right there. And then I'm going to take one of them and run it through the opposite side. So this is just a kind of a lock stitch. So I'm going to run it through all the way around the outside edge one time here. Well, maybe more than once. I'll show you why. Because otherwise it starts loosening up, and you want to lock your ends together anyway. If I can get it through there. There it goes. Oops, made a knot. Don't need that. Oops. There. So to tighten that up, I'm going to pull both sides, and I did actually get it through. So that made just a loop around the end. So I'm going to do it one more time with this other needle around the outside here. I'm going to put my awl through it again in the direction that I'm pushing the needle. That'll help open that hole up. There we go. Alright, so now I'm just going to help that loop set right where I want it to, which is right on that side. So now I've got a loop on one end and on the outside edge. And I'm going to pull both threads again. Okay? So from now here forward, we're going to put one needle through one side of this hole. I'm going to run my awl through both sides again. There you go. I'm going to go that direction with this needle, and back the other direction with this other one. This is a saddle stitch. Oops. And if you're having a hard time getting it through, more than likely what you're doing is trying to go through the thread that's already through the hole. If you pull that thread back where you came from, and it pulls it into one side of your hole and allows your needle to get by. And I'm trying to tie knots again. There we go. And then just a little tug, pull it tight. I always start from the same side. So the last needle you pulled through is the first one to start every time. I'm going to make that bigger again. I call this chasing. So you want to chase with your, yeah. I don't know why it's called chasing, because really The needle's chasing the awl, not the awl chasing the needle. So we're going to pull that through, pull that around the end, and push that one through. Much easier. And then, of course, make sure that we're not gripping it up too bad. Give it a little tug. And there you go. So, I'm going to work your way to the end of this line, and then I'll show you how to finish it. Okay, so now we're down at the end. The two holes that are down here are not going to really line up. They're going to be a real pain to get a thread through. So I'm going to use my awl to push through both of them, both ways, because the leather's now pinched right there. So we had to kind of redo the hole. So I'm going to go ahead and do one more stitch right there. And if there's an extra one on the end, it's not a big deal. We're going to cover it up. So we'll get these two thrown through real quick. And then we're going to do about the same that we did out here on the end. The difference is now I am going to, so I'm going to take this one and I'm going to run it around the outside here, and I want to run it, instead of going all the way through, I'm just going to go halfway through that hole. So I'm going to put it in to where it feels like it's at least through the first side, and I'm going to push it out the outside edge. Alright, so we're going to push it through right there and pull tight. And I'm going to do this one the same thing, except I'm going to go over on the outside edge, so over this way. So same thing, I'm only going to go through one side of the leather. I'm not going to try to stitch them together. Right there. And then I'm going to guide that over the outside right there. Okay? That'll help hold that together. So now you got another loop and a loop. Okay, so now at this point we can take our needles out. Yeah, we can take our needles out. Now we're going to grab that other awl, the threading awl. Big fingers, small toys. Okay, and I'm going to drop it on the floor just to see how strong my toes are. Okay. This, and on this side it's going to be a little bit more difficult, so I'm going to kind of practice. What I want to put it in, and I'm aiming to go on the inside right about here somewhere and come out right about like that. So I'm going to go inside, and I kind of remember about how long this is, right? So I'm just about where that is, and I want to make sure I keep my fingers out of the way, and I'm going to push through between right there. So it's coming out to your seam. And I want to make sure that the hole is out. So now I'm going to thread my both of these threads. I'm going to push through there, maybe. If they get too frayed and you can't get them through it, if you have to re-thread or put them through the eye again, just cut the ends off. And again, big fingers, small toys. Okay, there's one. And there's the other. And I'm going to pull quite a bit through. So, and now I'm going to pull this back through. Okay, just like that. Keep pulling. Okay, and I just pulled it all the way out because we're gonna reposition this. So I'm gonna pull those tight, and they're gonna disappear into that seam. See that? Boom, disappeared. Pretty. You can pull them pretty tight. So now I'm gonna do the same thing and make sure that I'm gonna be able to reach my needle out here. Now you could just cut those off, and they'd probably be fine, especially with wax thread. If you just pulled these as hard as you could and pulled them like this, and then put your scissors in there as far as you could, we could just do that. Let's just do that. Because you're not going to see it. If you don't feel like that's secure enough for you, you could push this between the two seams again, right here, and push it out somewhere right there, and rethread them, and pull it back out, and then you'd have to come in again and pull them back in, and that gives you kind of it's essentially tying a knot. So, all right, so there's one side. So this thread, if you want to keep it, but there's not really much here to do with it. But I'm going to go ahead and sign off with that. But the other side is exactly the same. And when you get done, you're going to have a fairly decent wallet for credit cards and IDs and dollar bills. Dollar bills, you know. I know, I'm a dad. I had kids. Have kids. They're not kids anymore. But there you go. And if there's anything that you can think of, and I have a few other ideas, but if you have any suggestions on what you would like to build, make out of leather with what supplies we have here, with what we have left, one of my thoughts was, and I will probably start it, but a mug or pop can mug holder thing, or something for your water bottle, or even easier than that could be a keychain fob, whatever. So if you guys have suggestions on something that you'd like me to give you some instruction on and help you make a layout and so on and so forth, leave them in the comments and I will see what I can do about making something. Thank you. Thanks for watching.